the legend that is Joe Schad. Joe, how you doing, my man? You feeling good?
I'm doing okay, Big O. Thanks for having me, buddy.
Are you enjoying this this draft here? Do you find it entertaining since the Dolphins don't have a pick?
No, not really. It's kind of boring to be at home, sitting up here in my daughter's playroom. Certainly wish the Dolphins had a first-round pick, but listen, no complaints when Tyreek Hill is on your roster. It was certainly worth that transaction, and so you try to kind of get into the Jets picks, like, all right, are Sauce Gardner and Garrett Wilson a threat to the Dolphins? Well, not really. I mean, Sauce Gardner is going to have to cover Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and Garrett Wilson is going to get covered up by Xavier Howard or Byron Jones. So it's still clearly advantage Dolphins over the Jets.
All right, I like that. But by the way, you shouldn't be so depressed being stuck at home. You could have been here in Vegas with us, okay? I mean, yeah, you chose to stay in Boca. You could have come to Vegas with us. I'm just saying, okay? So, you made your own bed now.
I had a good time in Las Vegas during the regular season last year. That was a nice back-to-back. I'm glad the Dolphins played there because the year before I was unable to travel due to COVID. I didn't have COVID. It was COVID lockdown the country. That was the Ryan Fitzpatrick to Mac Hollins game. I was watching that in the same exact seat cushion that I'm on right now.
Well, by the way, the Bills, I didn't think you would trade for a corner here, but they traded up to get Florida's Kaiir Elam, wow, according to Jordan Schultz, who's reporting that they're taking the Florida corner at this spot here. The Bills pick is in at number 24, but that also shows, Joe, that the Jets and the Bills are also going, well, wait a minute, look what the Dolphins are doing. They're loading up on that offense. We need to load up on that defense to try to keep up with the Cheetahs running out there on the field.
Elam is a Palm Beach kid, went to the Benjamin School. We should have written about him at the Combine, but we did not visit with Elam at the Combine. But yeah, they had Devin Singletary, who played at FAU in Boca Raton, which is in Palm Beach.
Yeah, good
so
kid,
the Palm
too.
Beach connections.
Yeah, yep. So our boy, I think Jordan Schultz, we've had him on the show several times. Actually, I think it looks they're about to announce the pick here out of Florida, and it is Kaiir Elam out of Florida. So he did get that overall. So, Joe, tomorrow they will have a pick in the third round. Before they get to that, are you expecting anything in this round, anything next round, tomorrow in the second round? Are you expecting any kind of movement from the Miami Dolphins front office, or do you think they will stay status quo and wait till the third round to make their selection?
You get the sense from speaking to Chris Greer that they certainly was unlikely to move up into the first round, and I think that they would like to preserve their 2023 picks, and so when you only have a 3, a 4, and 2 7s, I think you're more likely to use the 3 and the 4. Make sure you pick up an offensive lineman and then either a linebacker or a running back or an edge rusher. If you get 2 players in the third and fourth rounds at those positions, they should at least contend to be starters at some points in their career. And if they're a running back or an edge rusher, they can at least be a rotational player as a rookie. That is what you expect in those positions. I think the Dolphins are probably, you never know, you can move up or down a few spots, but I don't see them making a dramatic move.
So let me ask you about a couple of moves. What did you look into? We talked a little bit about how the Bills and now the Jets have been loading up at cornerback. What did you think about the Tennessee Titans moves? Kind of interesting that they end up trading A.J. Brown and then they go and draft a young receiver. How do you read into that?
Well, they didn't want to pay A.J. Brown. And so in speaking to Drew Rosenhaus following the Tyreek Hill trade announcement and his press conference, Drew talked about how the NFL is more like the NBA now in terms of transactions. good and bad, but it's becoming more of a player-driven league with the push towards longer guarantees, fully guarantees, players saying to teams, work with me and my agent if you're not going to pay me. And so that is, what happened. I think that Treylon Burks is a suitable replacement for A.J. Brown. You see the Ravens moving on from Hollywood Brown. It leads you to wonder if they're going to be in on Deebo Samuel. It is interesting because receivers.
The question with Deebo, you bring up something very interesting. Does he really want to play that same role? Because they say he doesn't. So I don't know what's true or what's not. But if he goes to Baltimore, then he knows he has to be playing that role because wide receivers don't thrive in Baltimore. That's not a pass-happy offense. That's a run-loaded offense. You know what I'm saying? And Deebo would actually be absolutely awesome for that offense because Lamar would open it up for him in that run game.
Palm Beach connection again, Lamar Jackson.
That's right.
Yeah, listen, I like that fit. And I think that if Deebo were to go to Baltimore, he would say all the right things in the press conference about how he's willing to do whatever the coaches ask. And when push comes to shove, listen, whether you're Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Lynn Bowden, Jakeem Grant, you're willing to line up in the backfield. Christian Wilkins, you do what the team asks you to do. Now, is Deebo Samuel within his rights to say, listen, I'm a little worried about getting banged up. Maybe can you do me a solid here and lighten my running back workload? That's completely legitimate. But the idea that some team is going to pay for Deebo Samuel with the money that he wants and not have him be utilized in a multi-threat, multi-position, Swiss Army knife versatile role, that's absurd. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Well, and listen, here's the thing. You can't trade for the guy if he doesn't want to play that position because you have no idea if he can transition to a full-time wide receiver and be as effective because he's effective because of all the yards and the yak that he gets right outside the line of scrimmage. That's where he's got a lot of his yardage. It's not really because he's going over the top of defenses all the time. So anybody would be rolling the dice to give him a big contract if he's not willing to play the role that he has made himself into.
When the check is big enough, which it will be, you say, oh, we'll work it out. And I don't think Deebo is, I don't think like a bad guy.
Nah.
I don't think he's going to be like a huge headache as long as he gets paid.
Right.
It is interesting, that a lot of big-time receivers being moved and a lot of people saying, well, how does that make sense? Receivers are a dime a dozen. There's always quality, fantasy football, there's always quality receivers available on the waiver wire. Yeah. They always say, don't draft receivers. It's a waste. Wait on the receivers.
Right.
Get your running backs, get your top couple of tight ends, get your top couple of quarterbacks.
Right.
But at the top end of the market, these guys are being paid $20 to $30 million. Now, the thing that I like about what the Dolphins did is they didn't just add a receiver. It's a lot easier to replace an A.J. Brown with a Treylon Burks than it is for the Chiefs to try to replace a Tyreek Hill. Who's their Tyreek Hill replacement?
Right.
He's a unique talent.
Right.
So if you're gonna pay the receiver and you're gonna trade for the receiver, make sure it is a very unique talent. Ironically, Deebo Samuel in his own way is also a very unique talent, which is why you would think that the Jets would continue to be interested in Deebo Samuel, even though they added Garrett Wilson. So,
I'm with you there. What are you working on in the Palm Beach Post so folks can check you out, my friend?
I didn't write a damn thing today. I don't know what to write. Do you have any ideas? I was thinking about the receiver angle. The thing I just talked about
I just told you the Bills and the Jets loading up at corner because of Miami's receivers. I think that's a great story.
Well, your favorite writer, Hal Habib.
Oh, yes.
He's doing like a takeaways that's going to include some perspective on the AFC East. So
there you go.
Hal Habib is going to handle that element. I might, if I feel inspired overnight or in the morning, I might write about this idea that trading for receivers and teams trading away receivers, Tyler Smith goes to the Cowboys.
Yep.
He's sort of like a project type, right? Like in terms of like an Austin Jackson was a project.
Well, they figure they've had so much luck with Tyron Smith, they figure they'll get Tyler Smith. I don't know. I'm going with that.
Well, I think the point that I made about Tyreek Hill, like if you're going to pay the receiver, if you're going to give up assets for the receiver, because you can always find them in the draft. There's like 8 receivers that every GM likes in this year's draft.
Right.
Make sure it's a highly specialized, extremely unique talent. And that is what Tyreek Hill is. But it is kind of boring to, not have a pick. And the Dolphins' 3rd round pick is, at the very end because it's supplemental. So,
right.
But, maybe you get a center. Maybe you get a running back. I would rank them.
The other thing, how about a returner, Joe? Because I was talking with Lisa in the last hour. Yeah, like if you get like a DB / returner, wide receiver / returner, running back /
you don't want Hill and Waddle.
I don't want them as my primary returners. Yeah, no, I don't want that, Joe. I want a primary returner. And if you're losing late in a game and you need a spark, okay, call Tyreek or Waddle to have a return for you. But I don't want those guys as my primary returner. I disagree, Joe. Do you really think that that's the smart move to spend Tyreek or Waddle's talents as your full-time returners? I don't want that, dude.
Javon Holland can also return.
I know.
I get it. He's a Pro Bowl safety, as early as next year. Look, there's no kickoff returns in the NFL anymore, so that doesn't even really matter. And there are
I know they traded the only guy that had a returner last year.
There are few punt returns that are even returned for touchdowns in the NFL at this point. So I don't know. You'd like to think that maybe a number 4 receiver, but do you need to draft that guy? I don't know.
Well, like a 4th rounder in the 3rd or 4th round. In the 7th round, it's going to be hard to find those guys. But in that 4th round, you might be able to find yourself a decent returner, dude.
Isn't it a CFL guy that they signed? They signed like the best returner in like CFL history. So you never know. Maybe I don't know his name, but maybe that little guy. He's a very little guy. Yeah. I don't know his name. I'm sorry.
And as a Dolphin fan, we can't crap on anybody that comes from the CFL because we've had our experiences already with the CFL. We've had our experiences with the Arena League, so we've watched guys like Mark Dixon and Orlando Gadsden, obviously come from odd places, and they go out there and have a heck of a year or a heck of a career, and obviously Cam Wake will end up in the Ring of Honor coming out of the CFL, which is amazing.
All right, in the 3rd round, this is how I'm going to rank it, and this is another thing I could write about. What positions do I think the Dolphins should target at the end of the 3rd round? I go center, number 1. Running back, number 2.
Okay.
Linebacker or edge rusher, number 3. Do you agree with that? You comfortable with that ranking?
D-tackle, I would actually not as I'm a little more worried about D-tackle than D-end, actually. I think they have pretty much enough pass rushers, but I am concerned behind Raekwon, the next guy.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Sealer and Christian Wilkins.
But Wilkins we use at the edge also.
Yeah, no. I'm saying that they can shuffle through the middle. They play both positions.
Right.
Is Adam Butler still? I think he's still on the roster at this time.
Yeah,
right?
he that guy didn't start off very well, but he actually ended up helping out, overall. But I'm just saying defensive tackle is one of those that I think could be an option later on. And as you know, Joe, dude, defensive tackles are found in the middle to late rounds all freaking time, bro.
I'm okay with D tackle in the 4th round. You know, I want to see, man, if there is a center or a running back they like, if there is a center or a running back that Mike McDaniel says, hey, listen, guys, this guy really fits what I want to do, I take Mike McDaniel's word for it, man.
Yeah, right. And Cook would be one of those guys, right?
Yeah, James Cook, right? Dalvin's.
Yeah.
Is it cousin? I think so.
I'm not exactly sure what the relation. I know there's a relation. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but
brother or cousin, whatever it is.
He's one of those guys that I would look at. Pierre Strong is another guy that people have talked about that maybe if he's there, I don't know if he's going to last, that far, but there's a couple of guys there. Do you like your Florida boy since you were on the Florida beat, Dameon Pierce?
Yeah, I from what I've read and I've seen a few highlights, he seems like a solid player, solid runner, solid blocker, solid receiver, not a lot of tread on the tires. They said the same thing about him. Now, Emmitt Smith was a first rounder. I'm not comparing this guy to Emmitt Smith. But what I'm saying is they say, oh, he's me. Am I right on this? I didn't cover Emmitt Smith. When Emmitt Smith was entering the NFL, and I don't know this, when Emmitt Smith was entering the NFL draft, did they say, well, he doesn't have like dynamic, explosive speed?
Yes,
not the fastest guy?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I wanted to make sure I wasn't misspeaking. Yeah. I'm not comparing Emmitt Smith.
No. They thought some people thought Jimmy might have reached a little bit, but anybody that had watched him from Escambia to Florida, it's like, dude, did you watch this guy? He's like the most consistent running back you've ever seen in your life. So
I'm not comparing this kid to Emmitt Smith. I'm making the point that sometimes it's okay to draft a guy who's good all around and maybe isn't the flashiest guy at the running back position. But I'm not sure how he is in terms of fitting into McDaniel's offense with the zone where you gotta make the one cut up field and be a decisive runner. I don't know. Mike McDaniel will know which guy in the third or fourth round is worth taking. I would kind of like to see them take one of them, but I know, Chris Grier really doesn't want to do that.
Well, listen, what you were talking about when a guy is good all around, and you and I have run into this a lot with coaches. They'll tell you, he's a good football player. That's why I want him on my team. And so sometimes they'll take the good football player over the great athlete because the great athlete doesn't study, or the great athlete is lazy, or the great athlete doesn't know what they're doing half the time. But the true pro, the football player is the guy that the coach can count on. He's reliable all the time. So there's nothing wrong with sometimes taking the guy that's a little lesser talent.
With only 4 picks.
A lot more reliable.
With only 4 picks, I think the Dolphins are going to play it safer as opposed to reaching for the sliders. I don't think this is a year that you reach for the slider. Like the Boise State defensive end who didn't even make it through camp.
Right.
The Isaiah Wilson's, not that they drafted him, but they did, acquire him. Let's pass on the sliders this year and just get a couple of guys that can be in the rotation or maybe even compete at center.
Yep. Tyler Lindenbaum, by the way, just went right now to the Ravens, the Iowa
It's like
center.
A perfect Ravens pick. They always have good centers.
Yeah, they usually do. I'm with you there. All right, follow him on Twitter at Schad Joe. Catch his work there at the Palm Beach Post. Always kicking ass and taking names. Joe, thank you, sir. Appreciate you. We will talk down the line, my friend.
All right, buddy. Take care.
You got it. Joe will join us again on Saturday. He'll be on with us on Saturday, so we'll have our insiders.